Hello and welcome to The Kaiju is in the Details, a chronological examination of the Kaiju film. I'm Ian.
I'm Haru.
Today we watch an Italian film, Caltiki, the Immortal Monster. Haru, what do you think of this film?
It was kind of a mixed bag.
Oh, really? I like this one quite a bit.
It started off a little weak to me, and then towards the middle it got better. And the ending, while it didn't commit the sin of dragging on way too long, quite as bad as some of the other films we watched, it still could have been a little bit shorter, but that's just me nitpicking. I think the ending was fine. It was really just like the beginning where I was not really into it.
Huh. I think the ending, I think the ending's fine too. I guess it could have been cut a little bit, but I wouldn't want to be the person who had to do that cutting. Trying to find what to cut, we kind of a problem. For the beginning, I think the beginning is just all about setting up. Right, you setting up that that Max was evil. It's like a little asshole. Setting up, I guess you could have trimmed some of the native stuff, especially the dance scene.
Yeah, although the dance scene was really cool, even though it didn't seem to have anything to do with the entire rest of the plot.
Yeah, it reminded me of a Cuban film, Tituba, or not Tituba. That's not the name. That's the name of an actual indigenous person. Oh God, what was the name of that film? But there was a Cuban film that was about a witch on a plantation. Like it was an indigenous. It was like a mixed race indigenous black person who had become a witch through her lineage essentially, but like she's also pretty. So the white guy is bewitched by her. The white guy plantation owner is bewitched by her. And eventually it ends in him dying. But like there's most of the film is full of like these musical numbers that involve a lot of dancing from the main lead. And it reminded me of that, like this depiction of the brown, like the non-white person engaging in a sexualized dance for the ritual. So this is like we said it earlier, it's an Italian film. They didn't seem to have access to anyone who was actually indigenous. The whole thing takes place in Mexico, as far as I'm aware. I don't think I think even the stuff after they leave the Mayan ruins take place in Mexico City, right?
Yeah.
At least I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. It's hard to tell because everything's in Italian and not not Spanish, right? So
yeah,
it's a little confusing.
And they do say like they want to like go back to Mexico City because
I wasn't sure if that was just where they were staying before they went back to Italy or something, but I think the implication is that they're living in Mexico City currently. So they're British citizens. The main characters are British citizens, actually, like in the lore of the film. And they're in Mexico City because one of them's a biologist and the other one's his wife, right? And for some reason, the biologist needs to be there for this Mayan excavation to figure out. I think he's supposed to be there to figure out why the Mayan collapse happened. I think that's the implication. They don't ever say it outright. It could be that he's also like being an anthropologist, like he's like doing biological work as an anthropologist, basically. I'm not exactly sure. So you have that set up, but they're going to the these Mayan ruins, and when they do, they have indigenous guides. Now, there are still quite a few Mayan people, but they don't live like that. Like even back, I don't think back then they did. I'm not an expert. Mayan's not my area of history, particularly modern Mayan. Not mine. But like the thing about Spanish occupation is that it was very, very different from, I mean, like the main reference point that seems to be like South American, I guess, or perhaps even African, I would say, especially because since they have no access to indigenous actors, they're using African heritage actors to portray the indigenous people. There's froze up in here, not large froze, but what's the name for that? Type C hair, something like that. Like we're not. Well, okay. I say that it's not all that because the women are Italians. The
Yeah.
women's are Italians with darker skin. They're just darker skinned Italians. Some of them might
Hmm.
be even using cosmetics to make their skin darker. Uh, but to be fair, Italians played indigenous people here in America too, so it's not. I guess it's not that
Yeah.
far off from that. Not great. I mean, hell, the Linda, they keep calling her a half breed in the movie. Ugh. The mixed
Yeah.
race indigenous white, which in Mexican society wouldn't even be that crazy. It's called mestizo. Like in Mexican society, that's nothing. Like that's just like a large portion of the population of Mexico is mestizo, right? Like
Hmm.
there's not any there's hardly any peninsulares anymore. So like it's weird that they keep calling her a half breed and discriminating against her because of that. Although not too weird, like it's still a thing that happened. It's the things that
Hmm.
happen as well. Like, but it feels very Italian coming in here. Like
Yeah.
it feels like an Italian perspective rather than an understanding of Mexican racial politics, right?
Hmm.
At least to me.
Yeah.
Again, not an expert.
It kind of felt to me like Mexico was just a setting because of like you using the Mayan religion as a plot point in
Hmm.
but like they didn't do a whole ton of research into making sure that the film was accurate to like actual
I mean, hell,
Mexican culture
the
like
the film actually starts with a little line of text that says based on a real real Mayan legend, and it's not.
hmm
Caltiki's not an actual Mayan god. It's a what a corruption, and I don't mean that like in a bad way necessarily, but it's a take on Tikal, yeah.
mm.
It's a take on the Mayan god Tikal, like Caltiki, Tikal, right?
Hmm.
So it's, and then of course, Tikal is not a blob monster from outer space. Or
Yeah.
actually, these ones weren't from outer space. They're just powered by radioactivity, which comes from space.
Yeah. I think I remember them saying something along the lines of like they were amoeba
Yeah, yeah.
that were
I
yeah.
actually think the monster idea is really interesting. They're single-celled organisms, but they're just
Mhm.
big. Like amoebas are also single-celled organisms. They're just large single-celled organisms. So they're like, what if that was bigger and they fed on radioactivity to maintain that size?
Yeah. Didn't wasn't one of the other movies we watched quite a while ago about an
A giant
amoeba?
amoeba? Yeah. It was one of the ocean ones. It was like an underwater
Yeah.
monster. I don't remember the name of it. Something from the depths.
Yeah, I want to say that was yeah, I don't know. But yeah.
I found the name of that Cuban film, by the way. Mexican Cuban
Mhm.
drama film called Yambao.
Yeah, yeah, I like the monster here too. I mean, again, I did get the sense that the whole setup of them like discovering the monster through like a Mayan legend, Mayan temple, whatever. Was it a temple? Or, Mayan ruins.
Yeah.
And like that seems to be a fairly common trope where like the monster gets awakened because people like indigenous culture mysterious yada yada but like it was a really interesting monster and like
Hmm.
I loved the effects of it like dissolving people's bodies. That was
Oh
so
my god,
cool.
the gore effects in this film. So I think an important like aspect of this is that like while this is a black and white horror film of a ilk you might expect to see in an American drive-through, those American films that we're watching currently are under the code, right? These are
Hmm.
code era films, which limits what they're able to be. These Italian films aren't code.
Hmm.
These Italian films don't give a shit about your fucking Hays Code. And oh my god, the gore is so good. Whoa.
Like I if I had seen this movie as a kid, I would have been terrified. I would not have been able to sleep after watching this movie because, like, like, I mean, as an adult, it's like, oh, that's just special effects and stuff. But like, oh my gosh, it looked just
It's
fantastic.
so good. It this is okay. So this is gonna be like a Ian sees their second Italian film. Ah, wow, getting a lot of Cannibal Holocaust vibes from this. But there's so many parallels here from this film to Cannibal Holocaust, which is one of a film I hold in quite regard despite its name.
Hmm.
It's a 70s horror film, Italian. And it is about a bunch of documentary filmmakers who go to the Amazon to record footage of, a cannibal tribe in the
Hmm.
area, and then them just being absolute shitheads and kind of like instigating them, the tribe going on a cannibal hunt on them, right?
Hmm.
And it's a criticism of like the news media and the way that they turn us into monsters against each other and the way they portray indigenous people and stuff like that.
Hmm.
While also being that, because it is a movie about cannibals in the Amazon, which is not
Yeah.
something any Amazonian tribe has ever done, to my knowledge. Cannibalism as like an actual behavior rather than a ritual or a survival mechanism is not something that is actually practiced by and large.
Hmm.
It's mostly just a myth made up by white people to kill non-white people.
Yeah.
Or more importantly, to enslave them to enrich themselves. But yeah, so like that film had to go to court to prove that the actress that they had die in the film was actually alive and not dead because the effects were so good. The effects were good enough they had to prove in a court of law that they did not in fact kill the actress.
Oh my gosh.
And so when I come into this film and I see the one guy who interrupted the ritual,
Hmm.
ends up being the first person, well, not actually the first person to die, but the first person to die after the ritual. His like face melted off and just like a skull, but the eye is still in there, and there's like still little bits of
Yeah.
flesh around the side because he was in a diving suit, so it's only the part that was exposed from the diving suit that is melted off.
Hmm.
I see that and I'm like, God damn, the Italians are just fucking good at effects.
Yeah.
They're just really good at gore effects, especially. Although I like the way the monster effects are portrayed too. To be fair, it does kind of look like they just got some oily rags and started puppeting them. But they also like the texture of that oily rag kind of reminds
Hmm.
me of a starfish.
Hmm.
Do you get what I'm saying there? Like a star or a sea
Yeah,
urchin,
I can
perhaps,
see it.
but more
Yeah.
starfish, I think. Like that bumpy skin texture of the starfish. I mean, starfishes are like
Uh-huh.
very simple organisms, despite being alive, mobile, and predatory, right?
Hmm.
And that's what it reminded me of, and I thought that was interesting. It does give it a very alien appearance.
Also, that's right, listeners. You heard it here first. Patrick Star is a predator.
Motherfucker would eat Sandy Cheeks if he could, but she's in a suit, so he can't. He can't crack it open.
But yeah, yeah, no, like I love the effects in this film.
The
Like
miniatures. Oh my god.
I
The
loved the miniature use. Like
the miniatures
just
in the house and then the mini tanks that they had too.
yeah, they loved their little tiny miniatures in this movie,
It's
and
good.
yeah,
Good gore effects, good miniatures. The only thing that wasn't good was the day for night. I literally couldn't tell if it was supposed to be night or day. That's how bad the
yeah.
day for night was. It's like you guys are holding torches in the middle of the day. It's like no, it's supposed to be night. Like oh.
Hmm.
And then there was also one of the so they had a matte painting of the ruins, like like a big
Hmm.
view of the whole ruins, and you could see the shadow of the actor on the matte painting as he walked past it. Like you got to back up a
Yeah.
little bit from the matte painting.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was with like the first part of the movie
You know what?
being a little
That is
bit
fair
weaker than the rest of it
because
cuz
we start off with two bad effects in a row.
yeah, like my first impressions were just like, the effects in this movie are god awful. And then it's like, no, they weren't actually. It was just those specific effects because this setting where we start at isn't going to be the long-term setting of the
Yeah.
film, so they didn't put effort into it.
Yeah, we're getting out of here ASAP.
Cause like the effects and the visuals got a lot better once they, got back to, I'm guessing, Mexico City, and they had like actual physical locations and not just
Well,
using screens.
remember Mexico City in fiction.
Yeah.
All of this was filmed in Italy and France.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said like presumably.
Presumably Mexico City in fiction.
Yeah. But yeah, and yeah, like the lighting in the beginning was kind of but then towards the end there when, oh gosh, who was the guy that went crazy?
Max.
Max. Like during the time when Max was in the house and he was like, pursuing the woman, it's like I was getting kind of slasher vibes almost, where just, the shots with him in shadow and
It was downright Hitchcockian, yeah.
yeah.
Like a Hitchcock era slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
Psycho, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think this film, like once it gets out of that first setting, I think even some parts in that first setting is very moody. It's very good at setting up character drama. In fact, perhaps too good at it because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of characters in here that kind of seem to go nowhere. We have that whole like native ritual, that indigenous ritual there with the big dance number, and then none of those characters show up again. They just are there to get mad at the one white guy who comes in, and then and that white guy immediately dies. He interrupts the ritual, which is bad luck, and then immediately dies. He got too greedy. He got too greedy on trying to get a picture of the ritual, and he got too greedy on trying to get the gold at the bottom of the lake pond. It's very small for how deep it is, and it's also very shallow when you can see it's very shallow when he steps into it. And then he dives in and it's like several several people deep. It's like, oh, okay. There must just be one deep spot in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like once you get back into Mexico City, you also have like the astronomy guy who then just randomly goes off a cliff because he got distracted by the comet. Like he just like is on the road and gets distracted looking for the comet that he thinks is gonna make the monster grow, and then drives off a cliff. Like I don't know how it's either that or the comet made him drive off of the cliff, and I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah, no, he just wasn't keeping his eyes on. I mean, I think he was distressed about the comet, and that's why he was like in a hurry to go like warn.
Yeah, he was going too fast, and then he was looking out the window to try and see the comet, and then there's another car coming, and he like swerves and drives off a cliff, and then explodes.
Yeah.
Biggest laugh line of the film right there.
Yeah.
It comes out of nowhere.
It's like, okay, sure, he drove off a cliff and then just his car bursts into flames, and it's like, oh, that's a normal thing that happens to cars when you crash them.
It is a fucking series of unfortunate events for this guy. And his wife and kid. It is so many things that just have to go wrong in this exact moment. Like what is like the series of events are he brings home the alien thing, brings home the monster. He's not not an alien, we don't think. Brings home the monster, leaves it in his lab. It turns out that the event that is going to make Caltiki take over the earth is coming. They figure it out on the day of, apparently, or the astronomer figures it out, but he figures it out after it already happened in the lab where they accidentally they accidentally exposed it to the electrons that make it grow over there, so it's already grown over there. So the scientist has already left his home. What is his name? John. Yeah, John Fielding. Oh, the actor's name is also John. Funny. So John has already left his house. But also, as soon as he left his house and the astronomer had left his house, Max got there, and Max is insane because of the poison from the amoeba that was mummifying him. And he ripped out the telephone cord. So when the astronomer, who now knows that the radiation from the comet is going to make the sample in his house grow, calls the house, he can't get to anyone. So now John is not at home. He's at the laboratory where the other thing grew, and everyone had to burn it to death. The astronomer is heading home to John's house to warn him about it, and he's not there, but his wife is. And also Max is there and threatening or about to threaten his wife because he's insane. And he's been wanting to fuck her for the entire fucking movie, which is why we have to establish that in the beginning of the movie. And then the astronomer drives off a cliff. And then when John's on the way back home, while his wife is being threatened by Max and also the monsters are growing, he gets arrested by the police for speeding because the police haven't gotten the memo yet that he sent out. So he has to break out of prison. It's so much. It's so much.
Just a huge series of unfortunate events for this guy.
But I'll tell you, it's not fucking boring. This isn't Giant Behemoth where we get fucking bored in the last half.
Yeah, No,
I think we're about to say the same thing because, like, at the end, he still has to save his wife from the amoebas that are attacking his home.
Yep.
And it's like fucking action sequences as he's trying to run through a forest of the goddamn thing because they start doing cellular division, and just there's a bunch of them now, and there's also a giant one, but we'll get to that later. And he's like running through a forest and he can't get through, so the guys have to like use flamethrowers and they end up clearing a path. He's like, okay, and he books it, and they're like, no, you're gonna burn. So they have to stop the flamethrowers, and that kind of lets them regrow again. And he gets a ladder to get to his wife because she's on the second floor because she had to be to escape. She got a whole action scene to herself where she was like walking on the edge of a windowsill, Mission Impossible style, to get from one window to another with her daughter in hand. So like that's cool that the woman lead gets to have a fucking action sequence. John gets the ladder for her and starts climbing up, but another amoeba comes by and absorbs the bottom part of the ladder. So this is the smartest fucking thing in the goddamn movie. He kicks off from the building.
Yeah.
So the swing of the ladder lands them outside of the range of the amoeba. That's so fucking smart. It's such a cool way to solve that problem. I like this movie a lot, Haru.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. Yeah, like you're not wrong. This movie is not by any means boring. That I do still think that like maybe there were bits of the sequence towards the end where it kind of felt like it dragged on a little bit too much.
I guess you could trim some of the sequences of John running through the forest of Caltiki.
Yeah.
And you could probably cut a lot of the tank battle, the tanks fighting the tanks fighting the giant Caltiki.
Yeah, I mean, what seemed kind of silly to me when the tanks came in too is like they immediately started using guns, and it's like
they use the flamethrowers already. Everyone's been saying this the entire fucking time.
Yeah. Like, did no one inform the tank drivers?
Very strange, yeah. But at least you do get to have this like climactic final battle. It doesn't take a ton of time. It does get out of there pretty quick.
Also, what was a little kind of neat and interesting is like we have a fairly easy way of killing the monster. We don't have to do some elaborate like, oh, we need to use CO2 from fire extinguishers or like
why would that come to mind, Haru? Is
like,
there another Blob movie called The Blob?
Yeah, like, we don't need to do any of this like okay, yeah, guns aren't gonna kill it, but we have a fairly easily accessible solution for dealing with the monster. So the issue is less of, oh gosh, how are you gonna kill the monster? It's more just, oh my gosh, there's so much of the monster.
Can you get enough fire to kill all of the monster?
Yeah.
And also, can you fucking overcome the series of bad luck to get to the
Yeah.
monster to kill it.
Yeah.
You know, the blob
Oh.
and Caltiki are just different elements of slime. Caltiki is weak to
Mhm.
fire, and the blob is weak to cold.
Yeah.
It's a fire slime versus an ice slime.
Mhm. But yeah, no, I like yeah, I it had this movie has a lot of tension. Like they're basically after you get, I mean, honestly, even the start of the movie, it's just constant tension.
hmm
Um,
It's just like different kinds. Like where's the tension
mhm.
coming from?
Yeah. I do want to say, like, Max was kind of he was really interesting to me. Like, that's where I got like the middle of the film where he like right after he got his arm dissolved by the amoeba, he like and then we learn from the doctor that like there's poison in his bloodstream that's working its way towards his brain. It's
And Max
like
overhears it.
yeah, he overhears it, and even before then, he's in this state of I mean, dude went through a lot. Like he lost his freaking arm and to what probably he didn't expect to be nearly as dangerous of a mission as he thought it was.
Yeah. And he's
Um,
also already a shitty dude. And like this kind of trauma and this kind of like and psychedelics and brain poisons of the various kinds, not to say psychedelics or brain poison, but like alcohol, stuff like
mhm,
that, they tend to turn up aspects of your personality that are already there rather than introduce new
yeah,
things. You don't drink and become an asshole necessarily. You drink and parts of your
mhm,
personality that are asshole-ish come out, right? Or they
yeah,
don't, or sometimes parts of you that are nice come out, right?
mhm,
It's not a one-way street. Sorry, but but um, he's not a good man.
yeah,
He fucking hates his not wife who wants to fuck him, but he doesn't like her because she's a half breed according to him,
mhm,
and he wants he wants John's wife instead
yeah,
because she's white.
yeah.
Uh,
It's
and the poison just makes him the worst he's ever been. He makes him way worse.
Yeah, it amplifies the worst characteristics of his personality, which, as you mentioned, were like already there.
Yeah, it feels
Um,
realistic because of that, though. I think
yeah, it
it feels
like
more
takes
realistic than
away.
Glenn becoming a monster because he got too big.
Yeah, yeah, like it's another sort of somewhat tragic. Like, I mean, in this case, it's not even that he loses his humanity, but like parts of him and his personality and intentions become monstrous.
Yeah.
And
hmm
yeah, it's
Like
I mean,
until the monster divides into like a whole bunch of different things, he's the biggest monster in the film. Like,
yeah.
because he's the most dangerous, I should say. Uh,
Yeah, really. Cause yeah, he like murders the nurse to
hmm
get away,
He's actively faster than the amoeba. The amoeba's not very
and
fast.
he's
Got a gun.
like he's prepared to kill a child. He doesn't end up killing the
He
child, but
he almost
he's
does. He just
ready
grabs
to.
just a random child. He's running away from the hospital he was in. And he just grabs a knife. Like a kid's about to find him by accident,
Mhm.
and he just grabs a knife and is like, "I'm gonna kill you." Okay, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And then he does kill Linda, which
Mhm.
is lame. It's lame that Linda dies.
Yeah, and
Like
honestly, like
cool that the racist guy is the villain, but like, come on.
uh-huh. Yeah, I mean I guess on one thing that was kind of nice about that scene is she kind of stopped trying to stick up for him because
Yeah,
she saw that he was threatening the woman that he wanted instead of her, and she decides to protect that woman instead of trying to just bring him around and be like, no, no, come back to me.
of course, on the other hand, you could read that as instead of threatening herself, a brown woman, he was threatening a white woman, and that was too far.
Yeah, yeah,
So
fair.
you could read it in two ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel inclined to read it in a more charitable way because mainly because again, like I said, I like that Cannibal Holocaust movie quite a bit, and
Mhm.
I feel like the Italian culture of the time is well-meaning,
Yeah.
at least in
Like,
the
it's
film
not
industry.
yeah, like, it's not perfect by any means. It
No,
does
there's some problematic shit there in the opening.
yeah,
But at least they say that the Mayans were like a great civilization. They're not saying they're like
yeah.
backward savages or anything. And they're also like doing the Mayans knew more than we did thing, right?
Mhm.
Instead of being like ancient aliens.
Yeah, all the it's like there are aspects of that of that mindset of like, oh, these ancient civilizations just they knew infinitely more than we did. That I feel kind of mysticize them a little bit too much because
Oh, for sure. But it's the much better
yeah.
form to me where it respects them rather than and
Mhm.
it's still not good, to be clear. Not good. I don't like
Yeah.
it. But it respects them a bit more than it does the ancient
Yeah.
alien kind where it's like, how could the Mayans possibly lift a big rock? It must have been aliens.
True. Yeah, no, yeah, I get what you're saying there, and yeah, I agree with that. It is a lot better than the alternative. It's still not the perfect mindset, but
Oh, and then there's also the even worse one, which is that ancient white people came and built it. Remember all the way
mhm.
back in King Kong where we talked about the Hyperboreans?
Yeah.
It could be
Uh,
that. So it could be even worse. Even the ancient aliens, it would be even worse than that.
what if the aliens were
We're white
white?
people, actually. Whoa!
I
Wow!
mean, if you think about it, in a sense,
You know, I will say, I think of all the movies we've watched that involve like depictions of an indigenous group, this is probably the most respectful one we've had, right?
yeah, like, I was getting ready like, as soon as I saw that we were opening in a Mayan ruin, I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm so ready to tear this movie apart for its racism," but, like, it did have some, but it
Yeah,
was nowhere near as
it
bad as I was
it
expecting.
felt like the most of the racism is coming from blackface because they don't have indigenous actors. And
Mhm.
apparently they don't think black women would be appropriate for the roles like black men were. I don't know why they wouldn't just get black women to play the roles.
Mhm.
As far as I can tell, every woman in here is Italian, but you know, you can't tell that very easily. Maybe some of them actually are black or mixed race. I don't know. For the most part, though, I know for a fact that Linda was Italian. That one we have on record. So if someone wants to go through the cast and figure out that everyone else was what the race of everyone else was, and if it was problematic, you can do that, I guess. But I think more importantly, the themes of the film are not perfect. Again, Linda does
Mhm.
die. She does end up dying for a white woman.
Yeah.
But the racist guy is the villain too. So,
Mhm.
and the kind of predatory guy who wants to look in on the indigenous ritual is the first one to die.
Yeah.
And I think that counts for something.
Mhm.
But again, I might just be seeing this through Cannibal Holocaust colored lenses, which is a
Yeah.
crazy sentence to say.
Also too, on the using non-indigenous actors and, like, using makeup to make their skin look darker. While not great, I don't think we can 100% blame the movie for that because that is just kind of like the culture in specifically the Italian film industry at the time, like because they were pretty involved in like like you mentioned where a lot of Italians would like play Native Americans in westerns.
Yeah. Well, and also they don't necessarily. I don't even know if all of them. I like Linda was not darkening her skin.
Hmm.
Linda was just a naturally dark skinned Italian because there are naturally dark skinned Italians because they have a lot of sun in Italy.
Yeah.
And also they're in the Mediterranean, and everyone's fucking in the Mediterranean for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a good many centuries where everyone was fucking in there. So the Romans caused a great era of fucking in the Mediterranean. So because of that, these like there's the skin color, is this is why Italians were hired to play indigenous people, because they have at least like the ones that have the darker skin have a similar look.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that race isn't fucking real. It's just a social construct. It is something placed on us by white supremacist society in order to enforce white supremacy.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about this movie again. What were we talking about? We were talking about the skin of the color of the actors, but like what?
We were talking about how the
it's surprisingly woke despite that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about how the mixed race woman sacrificed herself to save the white woman,
which is not great.
and
no.
How how Max was probably even between himself and the giant amoeba, he was the worst of the two monsters simply because he had the intention of being harmful. The amoeba is not trying to, destroy everything, and the amoeba is just gonna amoeba. But like, but like Max has these dark desires that he just cannot suppress anymore because of the poison in his brain, and like he's gonna act on them.
Yeah, I think it has like it is saying something. I know we're getting into themes here a bit, but it's natural flow of the conversation. There is something to be said about the ways in which it takes the worst parts of his character and makes him evil, but like not really beyond what he already was. Right? He thinks about all he thinks about is like money and how to fucking be a rude asshole to the fucking mixed race woman with them, like because of her heritage. And he also fucking his friend, question marks, wife. It seems like they're supposed to be friends, right? And like John thinks that they're friends, I think.
Yeah, and I keep forgetting her name, the mixed race woman.
Linda.
Yeah, Linda. She mentions to him that John is his friend.
Yeah. And like he doesn't act like his friend, like at all in the movie. Like at any point in the movie, he does not act like his friend. They're always like he's always cold and weird to John. So yeah, it's like, yeah, of course when he gets fucking brain poisoned, he's gonna become a weird freak. Would you like to know who directed this film?
Yeah.
So would I. So this film was directed by Riccardo Freda, or it was directed by Mario Bava.
Cool.
So Riccardo Freda was a fairly prolific Italian director, while Mario Bava was not a director at the time, but instead a cinematographer who would go on to become a well-beloved Italian filmmaker, popularly referred to as the master of Italian horror, which, considering how many masters of Italian horror there are, to be referred to as the master of Italian horror is a pretty big deal. This is actually his first directing gig, as far as I'm aware. Let me check that real quick and make sure I'm not pulling shit out of my ass. Correct. So yeah, this is his first directing thing, if you count it as his directorial debut. So here's the story, Haru. Riccardo Freda and Mario Bava are both working on films. Riccardo Freda has just released I Vampiri, and he's looking to make another film. He wants to make sci-fi now, and he gets on his next film, Caltiki, the Immortal Monster, the one we just watched. This is actually one of the first sound films in Italy. Very few of them at this point. Sorry, not sound films total. I mean sound films in the science fiction genre. Sorry.
Okay.
And they get produced by Galatea Film, who had just done a Hercules movie that was fairly successful. And they're producing Caltiki for international, like foreign markets, because the Hercules movie had been successful that way as well. Hercules movies, for those who don't know, are basically Italian tokusatsu. Like it is big swords and sandals epics, and they put a lot of like effects into it. They're fun. You should check them out. So Freda is coming into here, and he thinks Mario Bava is a fucking good filmmaker. He's just a cinematographer right now, but he does good work, and he's angry about the way that Mario Bava is treated as just a cinematographer. So Freda concocts an idea for how to get Bava into the director's chair. And the idea is, what if I start directing a film with him as my cinematographer, and then I just leave partway through? And then he has to finish it. Now,
Okay.
that might be true. I just told you something that might be true. That's how Freda recalls it, or has recalled it in the past. He's also, so that sounds like a pretty amicable way of making him lead a film. Bava does not corroborate this. He just kind of says that Freda abandoned the film and he had to finish it in a couple of days. And then also Freda and Bava disagree over who gets the director's credit on the film, because Freda says it should be him, because he's like, oh, I did 90% of the work. I just left 10% for Bava. And Bava says that, he finished the films and he did the most important shots, the special effects shots. So it should be him, right? Mm-hmm. So that doesn't seem like an amicable sort of thing to me. So I don't know what's true here, actually. Like, you would think that if Freda wanted Baza to be the director on it, he would just say that, right?
Yeah, this seems like a very he said, and like...
But also, Freda has also said that, like, I left when there was just 2 days of shooting left. I did shoot it, yes, but it's Bava's type of film. I don't include it in my body of work. Bava describes it as his first film and notes that Freda fled the set because everything was falling to pieces. And then Freda later is like, it's my film. Well, actually, an interviewer. Oh, okay. That's the interviewer commenting on it. Cozy, Luigi Cozy. Freda interviewed with Luigi Cozy, and Luigi Cozy is like, no, but it's Freda's film. God, it's just a big fucking bundle of mess. And then Bava also says it's Freda's film in a later point. Like, I don't know, just have joint credit. I don't buy this auteur theory shit anyways. So like, there's no point. There's no reason you can't have 2 directors on a film.
Yeah.
Although you could also, because since Bava handled mostly like the last bits of the film, which happened to be the special effects shots, you can draw some interesting parallels to the way that Toho was handling its sci-fi films, right? Where you have the director and then you have the special effects director, and they kind of work independently and then combine together. So in a way, Bava is kind of playing the role of Eiji Tsuburaya here, while Freda is like the Ishiro Honda. You could see it that way.
Yeah.
But regardless, that did help Bava, because literally a year after, he was able to get a directing role. So I don't. He might have gotten that anyways, but still interesting stuff there. Let's talk about our cast. For Dr. John Fielding, we have John Merrival, a Canadian-born British theater actor, playing the British guy. Speaking of, I don't know what language this film was originally recorded in. Wikipedia says Italian, and certainly the version we watched was in Italian. But I don't know if you were paying attention, Haru, and I was watching their lip flaps, and they did not match the things that they were saying.
Yeah, there was something about the... Like, at first I thought it was just out of sync, but no,
everything else is in sync. It's just like not the audio.
Like, it just seems like...
It seems like they're speaking a different language, and then they were dubbed over. But also, there's an English dub that was done by a different company, so they weren't speaking originally in English. Because I thought maybe that would be the case because it was made for foreign markets, like the Hercules, like because of the success of the Hercules movie. But I don't know that that's it either, unless they just didn't release their version of the English cut. But we have a British actor here, so maybe people are just speaking in their native language and then they're dubbing over it. But everyone was dubbed over, I think.
Yeah.
It was weird. It's weird. Maybe they just ADR'd the whole fucking film because they didn't get good audio at any point. I don't know.
That's possible. Like as you were mentioning that, I did think of maybe that's what they did.
But that feels weird too, right?
Yeah, and like even then, it like just the sounds of what we were hearing didn't always match the shape of the mouths, but I mean, I wasn't paying that much close attention to the lip reading because I was focused on reading the subtitles, but
That's
like,
true, yeah. And by the time I started paying attention to it, we were getting towards the end of the film where they stopped talking as much.
yeah. Yeah, no, I actually noticed it like towards the beginning actually
Mm,
when like when they were in that camp and I just kind of noticed, oh, something
yeah.
seems a little odd here. What And it turned out I was getting the vibes of, this being
Some
a
sort of
dub.
ADR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was just dialogue replay. I guess it wouldn't be automatic. It wouldn't be ADR. It would just be DR.
Mhm.
There's no automatic here in the 50s. But there's some sort of dialogue replacement, and I don't know if it was dubbing or if it was just replacing lines. But anyways, Mrs. Fielding, Ellen Fielding, is played by Didi Perego, who is an Italian actress. So we do have one Italian in this British couple. But she did also play roles in several British television series like The Avengers, a pretty popular series, and a bunch of other films. Lots of other films in a very unreadable format. Wikipedia. What is up with this? If you viewer at home, listener at home, go to the Wikipedia page for Didi Perego. It's Didiperego, and look at this. That's not how you format a Wikipedia article. That's not how you format this. What is going on here? It's just all out here. There's no, like, the list is all out here. There's not a table to like format it at all. There's not a section like a one of those sections that will pop out, right? There's nothing. It's just right out there in plain text. Bizarre. Max Gunther was played by Gerard Herter, a German actor, played many villains in spaghetti westerns. Made his film debut in this film, actually.
Oh.
Danielle Rocha. I don't remember if this double C is the cha or if it's double C is the ka. Been too long since I looked at anything Italian.
Once upon a time, I knew the answer to that. I don't anymore.
She is Linda, though, as we mentioned earlier. She's Linda. She's played in a number of Italian roles. She's like an actress, model, writer, that kind of deal, you know. Giacomo Rossi Stewart is Professor Rodriguez's assistant, who I assume Professor Rodriguez is the astronomer who goes off the edge, and his assistant is the one who actually goes and gets John, while the professor goes to John's house. That guy's got a lot of credits of films. He's in lots of films. None that I recognize. Bob is played by Daniela Vargas. You might recognize him from Hercules Unchained as Amphiaraus, and maybe Hercules Against Rome. Hercules films. He's in Hercules films, and also a lot of other stuff. Spaghetti westerns of all sorts. Any Italian film you can imagine, he's probably in there. Vittorio Andre as Professor Rodriguez. I don't have any information on him. Nerio Bernardi as the police inspector, that old police inspector who's like mad that the Englishman was speeding. He's like a silent film era recognizable face, but he's one of the few that actually survived into the sound era, it looks like. And Arturo Dominici as Nieto, one of the first person. Oh wait, not the first person to die. The guy who alerts everyone of the first person to die, because the first person to die's name was what again? Umber?
Oh yeah.
No, Ulmer. Because it was like Elmer Fudd. Look, it's an Italian film. Do you expect me to know any of these actors? I'm not a huge spaghetti western person, so I don't know a lot of these people. And I haven't really delved into Italian horror much, and not many of these people are actually in much Italian horror, it seems. So that wouldn't even be particularly helpful. So that's our cast and crew, at least the ones that seem relevant to mention.
Mm-hmm.
I think the cinematography is quite good too. Bava does a fucking great job with some of these shots. Not every shot is a banger, but like some of them are pretty just bog standard. You know, they get the job done, but some of them are quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the sets are quite elaborate too, which is why I don't understand these contemporary reviews that say phony sets, bad acting, and limitations of a small budget seriously hamper the first half. I mean, there's like there's just like the bad day for night and the bad matte painting, but other than that, I think the sets are fine.
Yeah.
The acting seems quite good too, honestly. But maybe they watched the dub acting. I don't know what the dub's like. So incredibly banal that it almost entertains. What? That doesn't make any sense. Feeble horror film. What are you talking about, feeble? It's got the best gore you've ever fucking seen in one of this era of film, at least I've seen. Not only the story is bad, so are the production, directing, and the dubbing and the acting. They watched the dub. That is what it is. This person, at least, one out of hail of the New York Daily News. The other one came from Monthly Film Bulletin. That's crazy. No, I think it's a fine film. You want to talk about themes?
Yeah.
And we've kind of already touched on the race element, but the race element is really not as like when it first started out, it felt like it was going to cover it more because it had that whole like opening section that again reminded me of Yambao. So I thought it was going to have this like conversation of like what it of and maybe not like Yambao. I don't think Yambao does it in a particularly great way, but this conversation of black and white cultural issues and like the issues of like native versus colonizer and all that kind of stuff that you could theoretically talk about in a film like this. And then it leaves the area and goes to Mexico City, and we kind of like retract how many characters we have, right? Except for the introduction of the professor Rodriguez. And in that retraction of how many characters we have, we also retract like what the film is able to say, because now it's just a really like closed in plot about a man trying to find a cure for his friend who's sick and trying to steal his wife, and then like all the while a monster is brewing.
Yeah. Yeah, like we kind of I mean I kind of already mentioned how we basically have like two big monsters in this film, and Max is probably the worst of the two. It's not really a theme in this one, but we do see the return of, common trope in kaiju movies, radiation.
Yeah,
This case, it's more just the plot device of,
yeah.
radiation does weird things to biology, and so it activates the monster instead of it being like, oh, we should be messing with radiation.
Yeah, because like the monster isn't man-made. The radiation isn't man-made. Like the radiation is just an explanation by which the Mayan prophecy comes to be. It's like it's secularizing the Mayan prophecy.
Yeah,
which I could go on a rant about 2012 again, like I did in one of my Yu-Gi-Oh videos, but I don't think we need that because you can just go watch that Yu-Gi-Oh video on my channel, Empire Ian. But it does remind me of that, but I don't think that's what we're kind of getting at either. It's just like this, we have this native prophecy. We're doing this like they knew more than we think they know. They know things that we can't know because they're connected to the mystical. And like what they actually know, like, and then it's like, oh, but it turns out what they actually knew is that there's a monster here that feeds on the radiation from this comet. And they play into like the actual history of like the comets being signs of disaster. Like it's the same comet that Justinian saw, right? Like that kind of thing. Like the same thing that causes Paradox Games to have the comet event.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Mayan aspect of the storyline here plays an interesting theme because, I mean, as we mentioned, we do get this a lot where we'll get movies that do follow down that road of here's an indigenous culture that has a certain belief set that we don't fully understand, and it can go any number of directions with it. And in this case, it's like we're basically taking okay, so we go into a Mayan ruin and find this creature that is supposedly like a physical representation of a Mayan god. Um
Mm-hmm.
and then we bring that out into society, like we bring that out into like civilized, well, that's not the way to put it, but like we bring it out into,
The modern world.
yeah, the modern world, and
We
start to
rationalize it.
study it, rationalize it, analyze it. How do we categorize this new creature that we discovered? And apply basically what we're taking this being essentially from like an entirely different, like from the way an entirely different culture understood it, and applying our modernized like scientific theories to try and understand it by our own means.
Mm-hmm.
But then once they make the big discovery of like what it is, and it still doesn't, like, they don't fully break off of the Mayan origin. Because even after they're like, oh, it's an amoeba that feeds off of radiation, they still refer back to, oh yeah, the Mayans had this idea with like this comet that would awaken the goddess. And I mean, we now know why the comet awakens the creature, but that doesn't change, like, the Mayans still had the right idea of it,
Mm-hmm.
if even if our science didn't it wasn't being applied to their ideas, they still had, like, they still came to the same conclusions that we did, which is comet will awaken the monster.
There's this idea of cycles a bit in the film, or maybe just a cycle. I suppose it happened once, it happens again.
Hmm.
I mean, theoretically, the comet comes back around again.
Yeah.
If they've missed any pieces of Caltiki, right? But they don't really seem to imply that. I was thinking they were going to imply it there at the end, but they did never get that far.
Hmm.
So I'm not. It feels kind of left there. Like there's a potential for a theme there, but they didn't really bite.
Yeah.
It feels like more like it leans on that Mayan mysticism, and then like the same impulses as Chariot of the Gods, where you're trying to look at indigenous mysticism, in this case indigenous mysticism that you've made up, and then create a rational explanation for it, or a scientific explanation for it, I should say. Which is like I think is just a really popular theme in science fiction in general. The idea that ancient people weren't wrong when they, or were the idea that ancient people were not only literal in what they were saying, but also weren't wrong in that literalism. Because like the thing about ancient writings is that you cannot interpret them exactly literally. There is
Hmm.
like people believed in the Greek gods, but they didn't believe in them in like the same kind of way that people believe in the Christian God, if that makes any sense. There's a
Yeah,
there's a difference.
they
Biblical
have
literalism is a
their.
very modern take, right?
Hmm.
Even in that case, biblical literalism is an extremely modern idea.
Yeah, like they have all these sorts of different, like, yeah, going back to the Greek gods, they have all these sorts of different myths and legends surrounding the gods and their
But
origins.
then also, like
And
a couple blocks, like a couple cities down, they've got a different myth and origin, right?
yeah, and like it's more, I mean, it's less that they're literally saying this is what happened. Zeus had a headache, and that's how Athena was born. But like,
Like they're parables that enforce societal norms, right?
yeah,
In addition to being religion, like it's both. they do literally. It's kind of hard to explain from a modern point of view because we have this like secular worldview where things are true or they are not true, and then we have the fucking Christians who are like, we have this biblical literalism. There's no poetry in the Bible whatsoever. Everything in there is exactly true. But like things were poetry back then, right? That's the key difference, is that things were sometimes poetry and parables and stuff that wasn't literally true. And our ability to actually determine what was literally true, what wasn't literally true, is actually quite but like that impulse to take it as literally true and then make it into and like explain it scientifically is a very common impulse. I think it's very popular. It's fun.
Yeah.
Making a reason why the Red Sea parts for Moses is fun. Oh, it was actually a different sea, the Reed Sea, which is definitely a pun that would work in Hebrew. And the Reed Sea, it recedes, and it would be empty at this point, and then it would fill back up, and they could cross then. Like that's like a literal thing that people have said. Like that's an impulse that we have, and it's because it's fun and because it helps to reinforce things. Like it makes it so that the things that you once believed or that other people once believed aren't wrong, just misinterpreted.
Yeah, kind of like a couple thousand years long game of telephone, where like we still have a story to tell, but we try to make sense of, okay, well, maybe some of this is all just misinterpreted. How can we what could possibly have driven the story to be told in the first place? Because people don't just make stuff up. There has to be a reason for it, right?
Yeah, and you see this in modern day too. Like when someone says something that's obviously wrong, people will jump at the opportunity to say, well, they probably meant something like this. And people do this for the fucking Trump administration all the goddamn time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like it is something we just do, like, we try to give each other the benefit of the doubt, because we've all had that one time where we misinterpreted something, right? And I think that's a natural impulse that we have, although some people take it further because they have different aims. Some people take it further in biblical literalism, because they want the Bible to be true in any way that they can manage it, even if it involves making scientific reasons why some parts of the Bible are true. That's why creationists love dinosaurs, because they're like you can make, if you do it right and you find proof, quote unquote, of man and dinosaur living together, you can prove the 6,000 year creation story, right? The young earth creation. Because at this stage in our society, even for the biblical literalist, rationalism has one asterisk. What is rational to you is different from person to person, right? Like it is still, I think, like the way spirituality has changed in the modern era is that now spirituality itself is a form of rationalism. You have to rationalize every aspect of your spirituality instead of letting it be spiritual. It has to make sense. It has to have lore. The lore has to make sense.
Yeah, like
it has to be rational.
We can't just take stories for the sake of them being stories and telling us something about ourselves. We have to.
It has to be
break
cohesive,
it down,
internally consistent.
Yeah,
and it's gonna have references to my favorite Marvel superheroes. Sorry, that's Marvel movies. But no, like I said, that's true though. Like there's a drive on every aspect of our society now for rationalism, plot hole obsessiveness. That's a symptom of it. Obsession with the ding plot hole. That's a form of this incessant rationalism. Not that that's the theme of this film, actually, or it's just kind of something we're talking about as a side effect of it. But It's more something the film is doing, rather.
Yeah.
It's engaging in this culture of rationalism. And I don't think that's
Mhm.
necessarily a bad thing. I like rationalism. I like things to make sense.
Yeah.
It's just, I think perhaps sometimes people take it a bit too far, but it also is an interesting thing to examine because of the way it impacts this kind of stuff. And you might be thinking at home, how, like, maybe you're like you're sitting with this, like, well, how does the young Earth creationist thing, how is that rational? And it's like, again, it's rationalism within their ideology. It
Mhm.
is their own personal flavor of rationalism, and that's how they're able to reject our reality so thoroughly, right? Because their form of
Yeah.
rationalism has to perfectly conform with their ideals, their ideology.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, the current modern American right, uh except for like people who are even further to the right than Trump, the ones that are in Trump's camp, if something is, anti-Trump, then it can't be right as according to their rationality, so it must be
Yep.
rationalized out. But it may, like, you think rationality and you think like correctness, but
Mhm.
that's not necessarily the case if you're applying like your own standard of rationality. If you're changing what your reality is to be rational about, right?
Yeah, you take your this mindset that you choose to prescribe to as like the correct way of seeing the world, and you take things that are fed to you and you feed them through this machine of trying to break down, okay, what does this mean and how does it apply to the way I see the world? How does it support the way that I see the world? And if it doesn't, then it's bullshit that we shouldn't believe
Hmm.
because it's obviously false because it doesn't fit my rationality.
Yeah, and it's dogmatic, but I find that stuff is, they don't allow for any wishy-washy in that. So there's still this aspect of the like the rationalist movement, back from the Renaissance, that
Mhm.
informs the way that basically, at this point, basically everyone in the world thinks now, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people outside of that anymore. Maybe in like certain religious groups outside of the West, but like a lot of people, like even like, countries like China are thinking in ways like this
Mhm.
now, because America is so thoroughly exported, and of course the legacy of European colonization and American imperialism have so thoroughly exported this idea to everyone else. And again, not saying it's a bad thing necessarily,
Mhm.
it's just a thing.
Yeah.
Although I don't think it's not as thorough as that. Like, I think other places, Western countries are more prone to using rationalism as like the only lens through
Mhm.
which to see the world, whereas other countries are more prone to being able to swap lenses. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's another discussion for another time, I think. We've been here for a longer time than usual, and we're not
Yeah.
really talking about the movie anymore. Is the
You
one thing.
know, get you and me in a room together and we will go off on all sorts of ADHD tangents.
Well, I think that just shows how good the movie this is, though, is that it gets us
Mhm.
talking and thinking. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
sometimes we get out of a movie here and it's just so mind numbing. It doesn't
Mhm.
get us anywhere.
Like we're grasping at straws to fill the hour, but then, then with this movie and a
Like,
few
it's not,
other movies we've
it's
seen, we'll have something provocative.
like, it's not as good as some of the other films, you can tell, because we're not talking about the movie. We're talking about
Mhm.
things that the movie brings up in our minds. But the movie is making us think, and that's a good sign.
That's kind of what art is supposed to do, is
Hmm.
it's supposed to make you think. It's supposed to I mean, yeah, it's not supposed to numb your mind at all. It's supposed to it's supposed to provoke you into like thinking of ideas, thinking of how the movie or any other piece of art medium, how it makes you feel and think about the world,
Hmm.
and basically how can you draw upon what like the feelings and thoughts and emotions that that piece of art evokes in you, how you apply it to the bigger picture beyond the art itself, but to the rest of the world.
Yeah. I do have another thing actually. We talk often about like the differences in films in America and films outside of America. And one of the ones that I think
Mhm.
comes up quite frequently is the way they handle the public's reaction to a monster.
Mhm.
And in this one, we once again have this disparate disparity between American and non-American films, where the call goes out and that there's a monster and it says stay in your homes, and everyone does. There's no mass panic in this film.
Mhm.
I think to save on budget mostly, but there is still this idea of like outside of America, everyone's like, yeah, people work together to escape in a time of crisis.
Mhm.
And then inside of America, it's every man for yourself. Let's trample over all over each other, run away. Oh, there's a mass panic. We would be mass panic. We can't tell anyone anything. No, in here they just immediately tell everyone everything and tell them to stay home, and they do.
Mhm.
Simple
I
as.
I wonder how much of that is the American, like, if the American version of that is how much of it is do they think that would make the movie more interesting if there was that tension of, "Oh, if this thing gets out, everyone's gonna panic and run all over the streets."
Yeah, I think there's the
And
secret
how
of
much of
it
it
is good. Is what they want. The tension of the secret.
yeah.
How do you keep the secret for as long as possible?
But I also kind of wonder too how much of it is just a genuine general assumption that if something as world changing as a giant monster rampaging through the city is going to cause a mass panic.
Yeah. Well, I think part of this also is during this era, the United States is sending out a lot of money to Europe, to Japan, to other countries that they are worried about falling under Soviet influence in order to fund social welfare programs that benefit the entire populace, essentially creating the circumstances under which democratic socialism is able to flourish, and why the Norwegian areas are able to keep it eventually. Everyone else started dismantling theirs afterwards, but the Norwegians and the Swedish decided to keep theirs for the most part. But like that's why labor used to be an actually decent organization. That's why like the Japanese Communist Party has lasted as long as it has. Um,
Mhm.
is the U.S. was funding social welfare programs and allowing not necessarily communists like the Japanese Communist Party, but like socialists and non-threatening leftists
Mhm.
some amount of access to power in order to buttress the Soviet system. Like, hey, communists in Europe, you don't have to revolt and do what the Soviet Union. You can ignore them, because actually we'll build a social welfare system for you. And you'll have moderate amounts of power, but not actually enough to do anything.
Mhm.
And that was like how America kept, like, at least in theory, that was how America kept the communism like from sweeping into Europe and Japan and places like that. Whereas they didn't do that in America.
Yeah.
So it might be that the presence of the social welfare system subsidized by America is what allowed them to think in a more communalistic way in the making
Mhm.
of their films. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to think about. Well, I think that's all of my stuff. I don't have any quotes because if I tried to write out a full quote on this one, I would lose track of the subtitles and miss something.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really too much of great import.
Yeah, nothing really that quotable in this one.
It could probably use some more quotable stuff, but I think it would, for this kind of film, it feels like it would need to have stronger themes, something it's really trying to say to get anything good for a quote.
Mhm.
I think that would be my biggest criticism of the film, is that it's not really about much, but it's a strong film otherwise. So,
Yeah.
like hell, we spent the entire time trying to talk about themes, talking about themes it brought up to us instead of themes that it actually had.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Haru?
No, I think we've covered just about everything.
Coolio. Hey, this time I'm not going to forget to tell you what's coming next. I've forgotten that the past several episodes. Oh boy, next up's going to be a treat if I can find it, hopefully. I'll have to go looking for that one for sure. Nippon Tanjo, the Three Treasures.
Ooh.
That's going to be our first run on Orochi. We're going to get a big fucking Orochi, and that's going to help inspire King Ghidorah. I've been looking forward to this one for a while, so I'm excited about that.
I was wondering when our next Japanese film was going to be.
Next time. Actually, we're going back to Japan for quite a bit, actually.
Ooh.
We have 4 episodes in a row in Japan.
Nice.
So we're in 1959 currently. I didn't say that earlier. We're in 1959 currently. More towards the end. We're in August right now, and our next film is in November. Nippon Tanjo in November. Then we're moving from Nippon Tanjo to Battle in Outer Space, the sequel to Battle of the Planets or whatever the heck it was called. You remember the one, right? It had Mogera in it.
Yeah.
It's the sequel to that one. I don't think there's actually any kaiju in this one, but I could be wrong on that. But it is the sequel to one we've already watched, so I figured we'd just go ahead and put it in there. Then we get The Secret of the Telegion and The Human Vapor, both in 1960. And that's actually going to be all of 1960 right there. 1960 is a very short year for us, just 2 films. But those are 2 Ishiro Honda small-scale kaiju film, more like the H-Men, right? Or H-Man, I should say. It's not H-Man, it's not plural. But yeah, Human Vapor is going to be very similar because it's basically the same premise as a guy who turns into a vapor instead of, goo. Although I think he's more conscious. I'm not sure. I don't know yet. I haven't watched it. Yeah, Secret of Telegion is on a similar vein. And then after that we'll be in 1961. We're getting our way to 1961. Oh man, 1961 is a great year too. Listen to this, Conga. I don't care about that. There were did you know there was comic books of Conga actually? I don't know why. I feels like it shouldn't be something that was particularly popular, but apparently it was enough. Gorgo, a classic. Feels like it should not be 1961, but apparently it is. And then Mothra.
Ooh, I've been looking forward to that one.
That's going to be great. We're not watching the dub of Mothra. It's a little corny, but I don't think it changes enough for us to watch it separately. I'll think about that. I'll look into it. But I'm looking forward to Mothra. But yeah, next time, Nippon Tanjo, the Three Treasures. All right, Haru.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check us out on Thempodian or whatever podcast app you have. Recommend it to all your friends too. Tell them where to get it right there. Haru, where can people find you?
I am Haru Hayes, a puppy girl VTuber who streams occasionally on Twitch at twitch.tv/Haru Hayes. And as for Blue Sky, I actually am going to be changing my Blue Sky handle pretty soon. I'm thinking probably sometime this weekend. So by the time you're listening to this episode, it will probably already be changed.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is like several weeks out.
Yeah. So, I haven't 100% decided yet, but I'm thinking like haruhaze.gay, something like that. Anyway, you'll be able to find me.
You're not going to do haruhaze.neocities.org?
Nah.
Well, you can find me at thempyrean.neocities.org on Blue Sky and as my actual website, where you can find everywhere that you need to go to find me, all my various YouTube channels and Twitch channel. I stream 3 times a week. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that insane? I hate that this is my normal job. I want a real job, please. If you work at a museum and you're in the hiring department, hire me. I have a good resume, I promise. That's about it for me, though. Are you ready to say goodbye to Caltiki?
Yeah.
Arrivederci, Caltiki.
Arrivederci, Caltiki.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. It really is a meatball. It's one big ball of one singular meat cell.